Hey guys, Math6996 Fall 2016. I know you guys are capable of reading, and you really don't need me to read the syllabus to you, and I don't intend to do that. But I think there's some things that I can provide some narrative to that'll make things a little bit clearer. So, guys, the class is 6996. It's Applied Research number 1. It's the first course of a 3-course, 5-credit-hour sequence. It's a little bit wacky the way we have laid this out, but I'll try to explain some of the rationale for that as I go through the syllabus. So I'm thinking this is going to be a quick video, so stick with me. I'm going to hopefully make it worth your while, I guess. Well, at the top you got my contact information. Obviously you need to stay in touch. It's an online course, so email or phone. We can do Google Hangout sessions. Notice I didn't include any office hours there. I'm on campus 3 days a week, usually from about 8 in the morning, 7:30 or 8 until about 6. But if you can make it to campus, fine. Otherwise, we'll typically meet with Google Hangout. But more about that in just a second. Okay. At first, there's really not going to be a lot of need for office hours, but then after a while, we're going to more than make up for it. This class starts out kind of goofy, I have to tell you. I don't know if goofy has ever been used to describe a class, but it just was. At first, there's just not a lot going on, and then all of a sudden it just gets absolutely insane. So I did an exit interview with our graduates from 2000. Well, the ones that graduated this summer and the ones that graduated last summer, and they said that this was by far the most work they had to do in the program. Wasn't the hardest. Probably Analysis 2, Algebra 2, Abstract 2 are the hardest, but it's a lot of work. So get ready, man. It's coming. Okay. So Math6996. That's where we are. It's 2 credits. We offer that in the fall semester. A couple things going on there. First of all, you're going to choose a research partner. You will work. This cohort will work in teams of 2. You'll get your research topic approved. The way that'll play out is we'll start meeting Google Hangout sessions. And almost every single time, the first time that we meet via Google Hangout, we being you, your partner, your research partner, and me, I'll say, okay, let's talk about potential research topics. And people sit there and look at me like with just a blank stare. And we don't know. We don't know what we're going to do. And usually I'm like, okay, see ya. Talk to you next week. My point is, I'll throw this in your court. I want this to be owned by you. Now, granted, I play an important role in this. I have, since I guess the last 14 years, I've served on 9 PhD doctoral advisory committees. In fact, I just finished 2 up this year. Actually, I'll take that back. I just finished 3 up this year. And I've signed on to 3 more through Southeast Nova. I think this will be, let's see, counting last year, I think I have 17 master's thesis publications under my belt as an advisor. So, this is kind of what I do. And, but, when I say this is what I do, I want you guys to understand that I want you to own your publication. Now, if you publish, you got to publish with me, but because I will be that involved. But I want this to mostly come from you guys, and I'm kind of the guide on the side. Anyway, the third bullet there, and after you get your topic approved, is you'll submit a research proposal, and I give you the template and put up a video, something like this, kind of talking through the major ideas. You'll have to get IRB approval. IRB is Internal Review Board. Most of your studies will more than likely, when I say this, I don't know what you're going to study yet, but most of the studies, because of our time constraints, will receive expedited review and approval. But nevertheless, we can't do any research at Shawnee State University until we get IRB approval. The fourth thing you'll do is you'll come up with your research questions and your hypotheses. Again, I'm going to tell you how to do that. And by the end of it, the semester, you will have presented a Chapter 1 draft, which is the introduction. And typically from there, you start implementing your study. If there's any data to be collected, if there's any, just depending on the nature. I'm not going to go through all the possible scenarios, but just depending on the nature of your study, we start implementing it. In the spring semester, you're going to take MATH6997, another 2-hour course, Applied Research 2. In that class, you will get the feedback from Chapter 1. You will make the edits that I suggest, and complete it. And you will complete Chapter 2, which is your lit review. You will complete Chapter 3, which is your methodology. And you will have a draft of Chapter 4, the outline for the results section, the results chapter, submitted. That's a very, very, very busy semester, is the 6997. 6998, you will write Chapter 4, you'll write Chapter 5. About the third week in July, you'll do your oral presentations as a group, and then you'll submit your final version of the thesis to me in writing. I will approve it, proofread it, and then I'll send it on to the publisher, and each of you will, in the end, get this nice book of your master's thesis. It's really cool the way it ends up happening. So guys, the focus of the research sequence 6996, 6997, 6998 is to complete an action research project, a thesis, that is geared toward, very broadly speaking, improving instruction, learning about instruction, improving program goals in some mathematics education area. So I give you a lot of flexibility on what on what you can do here. So guys, course goals and objectives upon successful completion of the course. You're essentially going to have done the things that I talked about earlier. And I'm going to go into more detail on that in just a second. Attendance policy, you're expected to attend all on-campus sessions. I will tell you that the on-campus sessions for you guys will be October the 15th and December what was it, 10th. I'll tell you what, let me check my calendar just to make sure. I don't want to put that out there and then something maybe off on something. Okay, October 15th, yes. And December the 10th, yes. Okay, so you guys will probably be required to come to campus on those 2 days and do some work. Disability statement, if anything like this applies, please let me know. Get your list of accommodations to me as soon as possible, and I'll do everything that I can to give those to you. All right, guys, the goals for the, I mentioned them as, list them as targets, and targets, goals, it's like 6 of one, half a dozen of the other. The first target of the 7 is choose your research partner. So by week 2, I want you to decide who you're going to work with. I think, let me double check here real quickly. I'm on my other computer. I'm pretty sure there's an even number of students. If not, we'll have to either let someone work alone or hold on just a second. Let me look this up. MATH6996. Yes, there are 10 students in this class, so you guys will work together in teams of 2. So by the end of week 2, send me an email. Let me know who you're going to work with. I tell you, work with somebody you like. because you guys are going to work very closely together over the next 10 to 11 months, sometimes in some pretty stressful, under the under the time, I just got a text and I got, as if you can't tell, I got sidetracked. But work with somebody you like, and someone that you've got kind of common interest in, or maybe you work in the same school or something like that. Number 2, you're going to have to submit 3 critiques. One critique is of an article in math education. Another is a master's thesis in math education, and another is a doctoral dissertation. The reason I want you to do critiques is I want you to get familiar. It's kind of twofold, the reason I want you to do this. First of all, I want you to kind of get comfortable and familiar with how you search online documents and find resources. How you find sources that you'll use in your thesis. And secondly, I want you to see how 3 of these and see how they're laid out, because it'll help you when it comes time for you to lay out and write the narrative for your thesis. So important, from here on out we start using Google Docs. If you don't know how to use Google Docs, get on YouTube, type in Google Docs, and it'll show you a brief tutorial. It's very easy. Next thing you'll need to do is learn to use Google Hangout, Google Docs, and Google Sheets. Google Sheets is for spreadsheets. So ultimately what we'll do is when you start to collect your data or summarize your data, you'll put it in Google Sheets and you'll share it with me. Google Docs is a kind of an interactive Word document in that we can all get on our Google Hangout sessions, access your document, and we can make changes and see the changes. So anyway, more than one person can log on and see what changes are being made. And Google Hangout, if you don't know how to use that, please, before we start our Google Hangout sessions, do some trial runs with your well, I guess you saw that probably my wife's mother is in apparently just got to Myrtle Beach, so you get to see that. But where was I? Oh, Google Hangout. Do some trial runs with your research partner. It's really frustrating when we get on like the first week and you're trying to figure that out in live time, and I'm sitting there 30 minutes later and you haven't learned how to sign on to a Google Hangout session. So make sure you have that under your belt before our first Google Hangout session. Number 4, participate in weekly Google Hangout sessions. Speaking of, beginning around week 5 or 6. I think we start on September 26th in this class. You and your research partner will meet with me via Google Hangout sessions every week, or at least most weeks. Within the first couple of weeks, we're trying to come up with a research topic. So we'll hash it through and come up with that. Okay. So what we need to do, you guys need to, once you decide who you're going to work with, come up with 3 or 4, even 4 or 5 times. We'll typically meet 30-minute sessions, and come up with like 5 slots of 30 minutes where you guys are available to meet. It can be on a Saturday morning. One thing about Saturday morning is if Kentucky has a football game, I'll be at the football game tailgating, so sometimes I leave kind of early. So Saturdays in the fall aren't ideal, but we can meet Sundays, maybe Sunday afternoons. I'm in church Sunday mornings, so can't do that. So Saturdays and Sundays are kind of a last resort meeting. I'd much more prefer to meet Monday through Friday. The 5th target is choose your research topic and create your research questions and hypotheses. Number 6, create or submit your research proposal to me to be approved. A template will be provided later. And number 7, submit a rough draft of Chapter 1. And guys, again, don't forget this IRB approval. That's extremely important. You can't get an A in this class without seeking IRB approval and at least have that in the process. Okay? Calculating your final grade, there's 100 points possible. When you email me and say, hey, I'm working with Megan, then both of you get 5 points each. Now these 100 points are for each of you, so because I have to give grades individually, not as a research team. Critique of an article, that's 5 points. Critique of the master's thesis is 5. Critique of the doctoral dissertation is 5. Your Google Hangout attendance is cumulative 10 points. Your research topic being approved is 10 points. Your IRB approval is 10 points. And oh my goodness, I pray that adds up to 100. So 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, 100, it does. And your research proposal in Chapter 1 draft is 50 points. Grading scale's a little wacky. You have to do all of this successful to get an A, 100 points. A B runs from 90 to 99 points. A C is 50 to 89. Anything below 50 points is an F. You fail the course. And you think about it. You can't pass the class without doing the research proposal in Chapter 1 draft. And you can't legally do a research or conduct research unless the IRB is approved. So it's all tied in together. Guys, this should be your standard. And it's really checking off what you need to do. It's not really about, you're going to do a critique of a master's thesis, for example, and I give you 4 out of 5 points. Now you're either getting 5 out of 5, or if it's not done to my standards and what I think your standards are, I'll give it back to you and say, no, this isn't going to work. You need to redo this. And that happened. It happened last year. So, guys, that's the way the grading scale is conducted. Timeline and due dates, you see that. Week number 1, August 22nd, class policies. That's what we're doing here. And there's already a introduction to scientific inquiry. I think it's only like 18 minutes video that's been uploaded to Blackboard. So speaking of some important dates, last time to withdraw from classes and all that stuff. But guys, work through Blackboard. So if we go over to content for the course, you can see that the syllabus has been uploaded. And for week number 1, there's just one video. There's going to be 2. The one that I'm putting up right now will be here as video number 1. But I haven't completed it yet, so for obvious reasons, it is not there. So guys, starts out pretty easy going, and then things get pretty crazy. So here's your deadlines. These are the videos that I put up, and you can see that your first critique is due September 25th. Your second is due October 9th. Your third is due October 16th. But you can look at this. You can see there's no videos that are uploaded that you have to watch. So the 2 hours that you have, if you think about a 2-hour course, you typically think of about 2 to 3 hours that you have to put in most weeks. Some weeks obviously more. You'll meet with me on the Google Hangout session, 30 minutes, and then that gives you about 2 to 3 hours to find a master's thesis and do the critique. And the critique is not really a paragraph. I give you like 10 questions, and you go in to the master's thesis, the doctoral dissertation, and the professional publication, and you answer the questions that I ask you. Well, gang, that's all I got. I think this went on a little longer than I anticipated, but that's okay. This is part of an online course, right? So, guys, it's going to be fun. The great thing about starting 6996 is you start to see the light at the end of the tunnel and completing your degree. So that's exciting. Guys, take care.